he is very clearly using some notes that are very historically associated with war, with action. Hey music friends, this is Davi Vasc, I'm a music composer for games, and today, as I promised in a previous episode, we have the entire video today to listen to and talk about the Proof of a Hero theme, the main theme for the series of Monster Hunter games. Let's go. This is the Iceborne version, by the way. I love that little... Did you guys notice, right when the melody starts, there's a very interesting technique that they use to create even more anticipation and at the same time put a little bit more emphasis on the melody. Here, I'm gonna show you. See? This part, is just the melody, the orchestra is not there, and this seems a little bit counterintuitive because, you know, the melody is the big moment of the piece, is the main theme, is the main melody. So you want the entire power, the entire energy of the orchestra behind the melody to drive the melody forward and hype the listeners up. So here they do something that seems counterintuitive by muting the orchestra when the melody comes in, but it works very well because it catches you off guard, first of all, and puts emphasis into the melody, and then the orchestra comes with full power with a delay, and that again catches you off guard and, you know, gives you that sensation of impact right after the melody got its moment to shine. And something interesting about the build-up itself, listen to the rhythm of it. This kind of rhythm is what we call triplets in music. It just means that it's a pattern of 3 notes. So 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. So right, it's a pattern of 3 notes, but he does something very interesting here to make these 3 notes a little bit more interesting. A linear pattern of 3 notes is like I was counting before, right? It's like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. All 3 notes are evenly spaced. So what he does here sometimes is that to make things a bit more interesting, he delays the I should probably use another finger. He delays the middle beat here, so instead of being evenly spaced like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, if we delay the second beat here, it sounds like this: 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 and this gives to me such a driving, almost kind of a ride, like a horse ride sound to it. Feels like you're riding forward towards adventure. This kind of rhythm followed by an epic theme like this with a lot of heavy brass sounds to me, and actually a lot of Monster Hunter music have always sounded to me throughout the years very Wagnerian. When I say Wagnerian, it means that it sounds like Wagner, and Richard Wagner is one of the most famous and legendary composers from the Romantic period. He established a lot of the tropes and the usual things that we do in soundtracks from movies and video games, you know, the epic themes, the heavy brass. And there's one specific piece by Wagner that I honestly wouldn't be surprised if I found out that Proof of a Hero has actually been inspired by that. It's a piece that I'm pretty sure most of you have heard before. See the same similar rhythmic pattern, and then an epic theme in the brass. Okay, now I love this part. So if the previous part, the epic and energetic part, we could say it represents, you know, the fighting, the adventure, you know, the battles against the monsters. I feel like this part is the other half of what I could say is the Monster Hunter philosophy, which is the aspect of wonder and respect towards nature, which is something that actually I kind of miss about Monster Hunter music. I feel like Monster Hunter has been moving a little bit away from that in favor of, you know, energetic and action-packed music, which is fine, but I think I appreciate very much this side of Monster Hunter represented in the music here, and some of the older Monster Hunter games were very good at representing this side. You know, some of the tracks in Monster Hunter Tri, Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, for example, sound straight up from like they came from a wildlife documentary, for example. There was this vibe of you being just one aspect of this big ecosystem, and the wonder for this big world, this big nature, and these big monsters, and respect for the nature that you're part of. Can you guys hear the violin on the left speaker? To me, this feels like a junction of both worlds. You know, the brass and the epicness, and the huge orchestra representing the battle, the adventure, the combat, and the more gentle and nuanced elements like the violin on the left speaker, representing the side of respect and wonder towards nature. You know, one of the most common questions that people ask me here in the channel is a variation of why music makes us feel the way we do. And there's a lot of explanations for that. There's certainly the psychological and maybe even neurological aspect of music. Certain sounds just make our brains react in a certain way. But the other explanation is the cultural, the social side of music. Some sounds get historically associated with a thing. So when you hear the sound, you remember the thing. And this is certainly the case here in the Proof of a Hero theme. He is very clearly using some notes that are very historically associated with war, with action, with epicness and adventure. Listen to this. Okay, so to start off, listen to these notes here. So these notes, especially these two here, this interval of notes is called a fifth because the higher note here is 5 notes above the first one. So this kind of note here sounds to me very much like old school horn music. And when I say old school, that's probably a bit of an understatement. I mean really old horn music, basically back to the times when horns and instruments like horns and trumpets were used in actual war, so a long time ago. And you know, nowadays brass instruments like horns and trumpets have valves, and with the technological advancements, nowadays these instruments can play pretty much any note. But back then, before the valves, horns and trumpets were very limited in the kinds of notes that they were able to play. And this fifth interval here, which is the same notes that you heard in the Proof of a Hero theme, were one of the notes that the horns were able to play, and it became iconic in war for war horns to play these kind of notes. So in consequence, these kind of notes became associated with war, with adventure, with epicness. Sounds like a war call, right? And actually the sound that you hear in Monster Hunter when you go out on a quest, which is this, right? it's exactly the same. It's a fifth. It's the same rationale behind it. It's a war call. It's a call to adventure, a call to epicness, to combat. Hey, I've made a video on the theme for Fatalis from Monster Hunter World Iceborne. I'm gonna put it over here. That is actually where this version of Proof of a Hero is from, so make sure to watch that if you haven't already. And I'm also gonna put here at the bottom a video on Dark Souls that I did last week. A lot of you guys have been asking for Soulsborne videos, reaction videos to the music of Soulsborne games. So here you go. Whenever you're ready to spread your wings and go on a music journey again, I'll see you there.